Yes, it's North London derby weekend, Tottenham against Arsenal. I'm delighted to say Arsenal fan Piers Morgan is with me. Piers, firstly, before I start, I can't believe the league table. I can't believe where Arsenal are and Spurs.
This is like the ultimate nightmare, isn't it, before any North London derby where Tottenham are top of the league and they're 8 points clear of us and we're 14th with our worst start since 1981. It is not a great place to be heading towards derby weekend.
Could it be, though, the perfect game for these players and Mikel Arteta to get back on track?
Well, the thing that worries me about this Arsenal team is they're very schizophrenic in the way they've been playing. So some games, like Manchester United, we looked absolutely fired up and we won away at Old Trafford, which nobody was really expecting. We looked like a real force, a competitive team again. A lot of that was down to Partey, who, of course, has not been playing really since that game. If he is fit for Sunday, then I think we may have a chance, perhaps. But I've got to say, my dad's a lifelong Spurs fan. As he reminded me last night, has there ever been a bigger gulf in quality or confidence between this Tottenham squad and this Arsenal team right now?
I know you're a big fan of Mikel Arteta, and you're certainly a big fan of him last season. Do you give him the whole season to implement all his ideas, regardless of what happens this season?
Well, I think you've always got to give a new manager, I believe, probably 3 or 4 windows. They've got to get the team that they want to be judged on. I felt, ironically, we had a very, very good transfer window in the last one. We brought in some very good players, Gabriel, Partey, Willian. We re-signed Aubameyang. It all looked good. And when we beat United, I think every Arsenal fan was like, we're here, we're back. We're going to be competing for the league. Now we're trying to avoid relegation. I don't know what the hell's happened in the last few weeks, but it's like we've hit the self-destruct button. Aubameyang can't hit the back of the net. Willian's not making much effect. Gabriel's doing okay at the back, but nothing great. I think Partey is the key. He seemed to be the linchpin for that United win. So I'm just praying that he's fit and Harry Kane doesn't get on the pitch.
But are the players to blame? Do they deserve a big chunk of the responsibility here? You sometimes, I've got Arsenal friends and they sort of look, where's the leadership coming from? Hands on hips. Is it not always the manager's fault? Like the players need to take some blame.
Look, the players should always, I think, be accountable to themselves. There's something about the body language, particularly of Aubameyang right now, whether that's a lack of confidence because he hasn't scored for a few games, whether there's something behind the scenes. There's something going on behind the scenes, I think, at Arsenal, whether it's linked to Mesut Ozil and his situation with £350,000 a week going to a guy sitting there on his PlayStation. I don't know. But it seems to be seeping into this team a little bit of discontent, a lack of fight, a lack of passion, a lack of coherent tactics. And all these things, we had them a few weeks ago. So they've gone somewhere, but it's worrying. And I think the most worrying thing for me, as a huge fan of his, is what's going on with Aubameyang. And I'm hoping the sort of pressure and adrenaline rush of the North London derby will stir him back into the form he had last season.
You get on really well with him, though. Can't you have a word? You're mates, aren't you?
I'm definitely going to send him an encouraging note. I mean, I think it may just be a loss of form, which he's not used to. But his body language isn't quite right. I'm not sure what he's feeling or what's behind this, whether there's something worse going on. I hope not. I hope it's not the case of him looking around going, I'm getting no service here. Have I made the wrong decision in staying? Because he's not going to get anywhere near Champions League football the way we're currently playing. And I think one of the problems for Arsenal is that we keep thinking we're too big to fail. We've been thinking this for years. There are so many good teams now below the top 6. You look at teams like Everton, Wolves, Leeds, and others. There are no easy games. Aston Villa, these teams which are, conventional easy wins have now become games to really trip up on, as we're finding. We need to find some passion, some fight, some desire to be the best. But I'm looking around London. I'm seeing Chelsea and Tottenham, and I'm thinking we're in trouble this season if we don't get our act together.
You mentioned creativity and you mentioned Ozil. Has he got an issue here, Mikel Arteta? If you're going to exile someone and not put them in the squad, Do you have to get rid of them? Do they have to be sold in the summer? You can't have someone coming into training. He's clearly mates with these players. He can't keep coming into training and training with this first team. Surely that's a problem.
Well, I mean, Ozil's most impressive performance this season was giving me a whack on Twitter, which I'm very pleased for him. He got all his likes and retweets and was doubtless a hero for the Arsenal faithful who want to stand by him. But no, I think we should have got rid of Ozil ages ago. He stopped playing in big games about 3 years ago. I think it was after he signed his big deal when Sanchez went to United and we were desperate to keep Ozil. I think he suddenly got this enormous amount of money and he stopped playing. And I agree with Arteta. Why would you pick someone? He doesn't give 100%. But no one would buy Ozil or take on those wages. That's the bottom line. That's why he's still there. But the fact he couldn't even make the Premier League squad, that tells you that behind the scenes, some really bad stuff has been going down. And Ozil can talk a good game and he can tweet a good game and he can play a good game with the fans who are gullible enough to believe it. But I would get him out of there as fast as possible. I'd drive him to an airport, to anywhere that will take him. Because as long as he's sitting there earning that kind of money, the most amount of money of any player in the squad, and he can't even get in the squad, that's a problem.
I know Arsenal fans love it when Spurs fail, the word bottle, and when they nearly won the league the last few seasons, doing really well under Poch, but they just missed that trophy. I get the impression, Piers, that you're slightly worried about this Spurs side under Jose Mourinho. The resilience against Manchester City, the clean sheet at Stamford Bridge. Is there any worry from you that this could be the season Spurs win something, potentially the Premier League?
Well, look, Tottenham haven't won the Premier League in my lifetime. They haven't won the league in my lifetime. And I'm not a young man. I'm 55. They last won it in 61, 4 years before I was born. And the famous choking cockerel slogan that we have for Tottenham time and again trips them up. So I can only rely on that, really. Tottenham's unique ability to choke when it seems like inevitable glory lies in their wake. That's all we've got left. Because let's be brutally frank. Jose Mourinho's a winner. He's won the league 6 times in 3 different countries. He's a natural-born winner. And anyone who watched that Amazon series about Tottenham behind the scenes, that's all I assumed he would be. Just a maverick-driven, compelling, brilliant manager. And I felt that Tottenham lucked out when they got him. And I definitely feel that now. I try and think, well, who would we put in that team from the Arsenal team right now? Who would get into the Spurs team? It's a very, very small number of people. You might argue for Leno, you might argue for Gabriel, Aubameyang when he's on form, perhaps. But you got to think, if Bale gets form and you suddenly have Son, Kane and Bale up front, that's one of the most fearsome trios in world football. They got a very good midfield, powerful, strong. They're very creative. They've got a good defence. It's hard to see much of a weakness in that Tottenham team. And in Kane, they've got a leader who's leading. It's worrying. It's about as worrying as it gets, this.
Do Arsenal need a Mourinho? Would you do a swap in hindsight? Would he kick them up the backside? Do they need that a bit more?
I still believe in Arteta for the longer term. I think that Arteta is the right kind of character. We needed somebody. I always say Wenger took us back a long way. For the first 8 years, he was a genius. For the next 14, he was not a genius. And I think we really lost our way in the last few years of Wenger's tenure. And it's going to take a while to get back to the top. There's no doubt we've been left behind. But we've got the basics of a good squad here. We've got some very good players. They're just not firing at the moment. I'm a big believer in Partey. I think he's come from the Diego Simeone school. He looks like a proper world-class player to me, proper general. And I'm hoping that he will galvanise us. And if he's back on Sunday and Kane doesn't make fitness, we've got a chance. And if we then could somehow nick a win and sign Christian Eriksen on Monday to be our creative midfield player, suddenly the garden looks a bit rosier.
Okay, let's just assume Tottenham do win something. Say Tottenham stay top of the league and win the Premier League. I can't wait to see your Twitter. What would you do if Spurs won the Premier League, Piers?
Well, one of the funniest moments of my life and most enjoyable was ringing my father, a lifelong Spurs fan, on the day that Sol Campbell joined Arsenal. And no Tottenham fan had heard the news. And I heard it first. I was editing the Mirror. And my sports editor said, "You're not going to believe it. You signed Sol Campbell." And I rang my dad. And I'd actually got someone to go to the Arsenal stadium and get me a Sol Campbell shirt. I had the first one printed. And I was wearing the shirt as I rang my dad and said, guess whose shirt I'm wearing? He went, what are you talking about? I said, I'm wearing a football shirt in the newsroom. He went, well, whose? I went, Sol Campbell's. He went, why would you be wearing the shirt of our captain? I went, not anymore, he's not. I've got a horrible feeling when Tottenham win the league. My dad has a long memory. He will be the first call I take. Never mind Twitter. The old man calling to taunt me about Tottenham finding the winning of the league in my lifetime will be an unbearable moment.
Will Spurs win the league this season?
I think personally that Spurs will do what they always do. They'll look like they're going to win the league, and then at the last minute they'll choke. And that, frankly, right now is all we Arsenal fans have left to cling on to. The famous Tottenham choke. Come on, Tottenham. We're relying on you.
And finally, finally, prediction for Sunday.
I think my prediction for Sunday, if Harry Kane is fit and Partey doesn't play, I would think my prediction will be rather similar to the one Mr. T gave in Rocky 3 when he was asked for the prediction of that fight. Pain. And the pain won't be heading to Tottenham's way, I suspect. I've got a very bad feeling about Sunday.
Finally, we're seeing fans back now, which is fantastic. We're seeing the vaccine come through, so everyone's feeling a bit better, which has been a terrible year for everyone, Piers. And I know you feel so strongly about it. It's one of those things. It's good for our mental health to go with your dad, to go with your mum, to go with family members to football. Is that something you're really looking forward to as well? It's just going to give everyone a huge boost, isn't it?
I mean, the last time I went to the Emirates was with my daughter for her first game. She was 8 years old. And it was an amazing day. She met Robert Pires. She met Gunnosaurus. She watched us win. And we haven't been back since. I've blooded all my sons. They're all big Gooners. My daughter is. I love going to watch Arsenal Spurs with my dad normally. The only saving grace about this pandemic is that I won't be able to go on Sunday, given the way I think it's going to go. But after that, it will be great to get back in the stadium at some stage, because football without fans is like a cheese and pickle sandwich without the pickle. It just doesn't feel right.